All right, we can go ahead and at least get the meeting started, I guess. So call the Finance Committee session to order. So today it's 6:01 on Monday, February 6th. In attendance is John Schmalling, Frank Johnson, Jim Walters, and Cheryl Zerl Burke, and myself, Todd Dargy. So I did, so the first order of business for today on the agenda was the interview for Gina Muzio. So waiting on her, give her another few minutes to join in, and we can get started on that. I guess, while we're waiting, it makes sense if we want to just next item, which was the acceptance of the minutes. So we did finally get some action on the minutes. So we shared that via email last week. So hopefully you all had a chance to review that and can vote on that tonight if somebody would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. All right, roll call vote. Jim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and myself, Todd Dargy, is a yes. So carries unanimously.
Can I just clarify that was for the meeting for January 30th, 2023, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes. 2023.
So there are still a number of historical minutes that are still being compiled. So hope to have those together in the next session. Be able to, to vote on those accordingly. There was, I think Cheryl, you're going to be out on the next meeting, right?
Yes, I'll be out.
Okay. And also Michael Bennett won't be joining us tonight. And he also mentioned he won't be able to join next week. So I guess it would just be important the rest of the folks can join next week if any obstacles, I guess, foreseen at this moment.
I'm good to go.
No, okay. Okay, great. Yeah, just so we make sure we have a quorum, I guess, for next week. All right, sounds good. And I see Gina, is that you, John?
Gina, you're muted.
Okay, is that better?
It is,
Better.
yeah. Yeah.
I
thank you.
wasn't sure if I was in the right meeting, so I'm Gina.
Okay, yeah, no, you're in the right meeting. Yeah, thanks for your interest and thanks for joining tonight. So, if you wouldn't mind just kind of going through, well, first, I guess, just get your name for the record, and then if you wouldn't mind just kind of going through some of your, your experience and, your interest in joining the Finance Committee position for the open position for secretary. And then we'll
Well,
be happy to.
I live in Kingston and I am a legal assistant. I have a lot of experience. Since the late 80s, I've been a legal assistant and I currently work for a law firm in Quincy. I just wanted to branch out and try to do something different, even if it's on the side. I saw your ad on Indeed and I just wanted to see exactly what this was and my involvement and how I could help. I've never worked for a town before or a finance committee, so I don't know if I'm the right person. But I have a lot of administrative assistant background, so I thought I would give it a shot and see what you all think of me.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, first question, I guess, have you attended any municipal meetings in the past, I guess, or familiar with the town?
Only in Kingston, a couple of meetings regarding my development where I live. So no, I don't have any background with municipal towns and meetings. Have I taken meeting minutes before? Yes, I have, just not in this capacity.
Okay. All right, and so this would involve, obviously like evening work, I guess. And you mentioned you're working for a firm out of Quincy, you said, right?
Yes, and that's what I was looking for, something that involved evening work. I don't know what time you would say the evening work would start, but like I said, I saw your ad and it crossed my mind and it interested me, and I just wanted to see what this was all about, if I am the right fit.
Okay, yeah, so typically right now we're holding meetings on a weekly basis on Mondays, and so they're scheduled for 6 p.m. Is that something that would fit your schedule, I guess. I don't
It
know what
would.
hours. Okay,
6 PM would.
okay. So they typically, run around an hour or so, so 6 to 7 PM typically. Some of them will run a little bit longer for the next few months, really, just because we're in the budget season, right? So we have to review the budget, balance the budget and all that kind of good stuff. So, so there will be some later sessions. So I think in the added list, like 5 hours a month, which is kind of more of the standard, like what we'd expect, but there is a bit of an uptick just during this, budget season, if you will. So just something to be aware of. Any concerns with that? Working beyond the 5 hours there? Or-
I don't know, I'm sorry. I could, yes, I could. Like I said, I was just looking for something part-time on the side. Your ad interests me. 6 o'clock would be a perfect time for me. And also, these are every Monday night. The meetings are every Monday night, you said.
Yeah, as of right now,
And
they are.
are they all Zoom meetings or are they in-person meetings?
Yeah, so as far as the meetings are concerned, we were trying to meet the first and third Monday of each month. We've since moved to just recently to a weekly meeting, and again, that's just due to the time frame we're in, which is the budget season. So once we get past that, like say come like June or so, it'll go back down to probably the first and third Monday of each month, and we typically shoot for 6 p.m. is kind of the standard time that we utilize there. So as of right now, all of the meetings have been held via Zoom. But, I think that extension, correct me if I'm wrong, right now goes through March 31st. Is that right, Sandy?
Yes.
So the
We
state
do
may,
think that it will probably be extended after that, but for now, it's through March.
yeah, so we're expecting an extension through the state to continue to do Zoom. Historically, it was a requirement to conduct them on site. So, obviously due to COVID that, there was some leniency given there. So we do expect that to be extended, but I'm 100% sure at this moment until they actually do extend it, right? So, so there potentially could be a need to be on site, certainly at some point down the road. But, some of us do, work and things of that nature, so we can always look to move the times to a more convenient time, to get folks, to be able to get a quorum and things of that nature. But that's the way the meetings are running right now, is that, every Monday at 6 p.m.
Okay, and this position that we're speaking of, it's taking meeting minutes is what I'm
Yeah, so,
assuming.
yep, that's exactly right. So it would be a few responsibilities, I guess, and Sandy, feel free to jump in, I guess, if I miss anything. But really, it's aggregating the agenda on a weekly basis that needs to be posted in advance of the meeting, within at least 48 hours of the meeting. So I think typically we've been sending them in around like Thursdays afternoons. So it'd be getting that agenda in, and then gets posted to the website, and then we'll have the subsequent meeting on the Monday. And then it would just be, joining this exact meeting here, and then, taking minutes of the session, and then circulating that post the meeting for folks to review. And then the subsequent meeting, the minutes would be voted into record and, archive recording.
Right. So sometimes they may ask that you do a letter to a department or make a phone call to ask a department head to come into a meeting. It might be some of that.
Okay.
But mostly it's attending the meetings, taking the meeting minutes, typing up the minutes and circulating them, communicating with the chairman as far as the agenda to be posted, circulating that and making sure it's posted on time.
Now, when you say circulate and post, that's all via an email
Email, right.
to the certain group of people, okay? And what
To
is
the
the deadline for that?
finance
What is the
themselves.
deadline for that email to go out? Say after the meeting is over on Monday, how soon does that email have to go out regarding the minutes in the meeting agenda?
Usually you would try to have the minutes ready for the next meeting.
Okay,
Sometimes they might take a little longer, but you
Yeah,
would
so-
probably try to have the minutes ready for the next meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
there isn't any hard deadline per se, but we'd like them sooner than later, right? So you can circulate them via email, and people can read through them and make sure that everybody agrees with them, prior to the meeting to we vote, right? So But there isn't any, specific deadline that it has to occur within, so. But generally speaking, like the minutes would be, taken during the session, so theoretically they should be really kind of done post the meeting, right? And then can be circulated, the next day or whatever.
Okay,
But there is a bit of liaison, like Sandy mentioned, like particularly if we're like working on a project, with the finance committee, one of the things we try to start to focus on are like, new revenue ideas. So there could be some engagement, like some things like that, just following up with certain department heads to, if we're trying to track down some data or whatever it may be. So there would be a, establishing some of those relationships and getting an understanding of the department heads and things of that nature, as well. And the minutes themselves too, Sandy, right? Those have to be signed, I guess, by, I think Michael's the designated secretary, right? So
Yep.
there would be an element of that, I guess, too. I don't know how that would, I guess, work, I guess, 'cause they'd have to,
Well, she could email them to
and
everyone.
electronically sign them.
Once they've been approved, then he would be able to print out a copy and sign them.
Okay.
Or electronically sign them. We are working on getting an electronic signature program. But
Okay.
even if he signed it and then scanned it back, if he has a scanner. Or he could get them to me and I'd scan them.
Okay, yeah, so that's just one of the small details we just need to figure out, I guess. Historically, the secretary was already like a town employee, so they were on site, so that was made that process a little bit easier. So something we'll need to think about, I guess, work through that. But generally, yeah, I mean, everything's through Zoom. There may be a need for you to pop over to town hall just occasionally for various things in Halifax, but it sounds like you're in Kingston, so you're not too far for that, so.
And Gina, all
Todd?
the meetings are recorded. So
okay,
if you'll be taking notes during the meeting, but you'd be able to watch it again because they're recorded and they would be available. And you could watch it just to make sure your meeting minutes are accurate.
okay. Is there a particular template for the meeting minutes that I have to follow or?
We can send you some of the older meeting minutes that you'd be
Mhm.
able to do it in the same type of format.
Okay,
Hey, Todd, you might touch on the wage and personnel meetings as well a little bit.
Yeah, good point, Frank. So there's also, we're in the process of or we have stood up, I should say, but it's very much in the early makings, of standing up this wage and personnel, committee to look at our, employee wages and such across the town. So, we did have an initial meeting, and so several follow-up meetings are to come. We actually have one scheduled for this, Wednesday. So one of the open topics that Frank is mentioning is in regards to the need for a secretary to attend those meetings. So it's the committee itself is made up of the finance committee here. So there's 7 members in the finance committee, and then there's 3 board of selectmen for the town. So those 10 folks, run the wage and personnel committee, and the selectmen have their own secretary as well. So as far as we need to, in this upcoming session on Wednesday, just kind of understand like what's the need, A, for a secretary, and then B, how do we manage that? So that will be a point of discussion. So there could be, some opportunity to work some additional hours if you have the capacity to do so on Wednesdays. We don't know entirely, how that will work, if it will be like a rotating thing, like maybe their secretary does one week and ours does the next week, that kind of thing. So, that could be an upcoming ask, I guess, of this position. Is that something you would be able to support, I guess, or any concerns with that?
so it would be a Wednesday evening commitment?
Yeah, so
Okay,
that,
okay.
so we're meeting at actually 7, I think, o'clock, right, on this Wednesday?
Yep.
Yes. But it could fluctuate between 6 and 7, but it'll generally be
Okay.
the same thing. It'll be like on Wednesday. There's only a few of them, so we've only committed to 2 in February and then 2 in March. So there's 4 meetings in total. So it's not like an ongoing like burden commitment, I guess. So, but to that extent, like there could be like some project work, I guess, if you will, that kind of comes up in that regard, that would certainly push you again over the 5 hours, I guess. So we're kind of just looking for somebody that's somewhat flexible to that, to be able to work the additional hours when they're needed. There will be periods of time where, we're only meeting twice a week and the meetings are, twice a month, and the meetings are relatively short. But again, right now, we're kind of moving into the crunch time, if you will, where there's just a lot of different things going on, so.
So
Okay,
usually January through May or June is about every week. There's a finance committee meeting, but from June to, I would say, September, the meetings might be once a month. And
okay,
then we go back to the twice a month. So it fluctuates a bit.
okay. Is there a way someone could send me an email with all of this, just so I could go over it and read it and have all that information?
Yeah, I can send you a breakdown, Gina, of the duties and the dates and kind of what we expect, I guess.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. And then you take a look, and then if you have any questions, certainly just feel free to follow back up, and happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. And any other questions for us, I guess, Gina, or this time,
No,
anyways?
yeah, not right now.
Okay.
I'm sure
then
more will come to mind later.
yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, and if it does, feel free to reach out at any time. Be happy to respond back. I guess anything from the finance committee though. Anybody have any questions for Gina? While we have her here.
No,
I do not.
I do not.
Todd, this is Sue. I just wanted to interject a little bit. The wage and personnel meetings are in person.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good, thank you, Susan. Yeah, that's a great point. Sorry, I think we definitely neglected to mention that. So the wage and personnel itself is not via Zoom. It's in person currently. But again, there's still a lot just to figure out there. We haven't committed to anything. We haven't even had the discussion yet on how exactly that will operate. So, but those would be in person on those days. So 7 o'clock, like for this, obviously, like, we're not going to be filling the position this week. So this week's not even in question really. So brings us only down to the 3 meetings, post this week. So. But it would be like that 6 to 7 o'clock time frame,
Okay,
which might be a good opportunity too. If when we do hire this position, somebody comes in, it's a good opportunity too to meet everybody in person and that kind of thing.
yeah, that
to
would
get
be good.
started.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Susan, for that. Appreciate that. Anything else from anyone for Gina before we let her go here? I guess.
No.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'll summarize the key points for you, Gina, and let us know what you think. If you have any concerns or questions, feel free to reach back, and we'll be in touch once we've made a decision on moving forward.
all right, thank you. That sounds great.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
All
Appreciate
right, thank you very much. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
it. All right. And then so as far as moving forward on the next steps for the open position on the secretary. So we didn't actually get into the agenda as a line item to take a vote. So we'll have to push that into the next agenda. So what I thought we could do is, if anybody has any question they want to bring up, certainly we can entertain that now, but it may make the most sense to kick off next week's session on Monday, the 13th. To go through open discussion on, thoughts, of best candidate. And then we can take the formal vote that next week.
Okay.
So I know Cheryl, you'll be out, and so will Michael. So again, want to do that would be a key item for next week, and then obviously the minutes too is from that backlog approved. Certainly want to do next week as well. Does that sound good for everybody? Any questions, thoughts, concerns on that?
Mhm.
Oh, good to go.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. So then the next item on the agenda is the review and discuss the progress of the department operating budgets for fiscal year 24. I know we're running a couple minutes behind. So first up was the building inspector.
Yeah, I don't see Jim on here.
No.
Okay. All right. I do see Bob. So I guess,
Bob's on, yeah.
yeah. Bob, if you're ready to go, I guess maybe we can start with you.
You're muted, Bob.
And Sandy,
Hi, yes,
Hey,
I'm
Bob.
here. Good evening,
There
all.
it is.
Um, And Steve, chairman of my board's also on the call, so
Okay.
ready, willing, and able.
Yeah, so what's the best approach to do this, I guess? Do you have it up on your screen, Bob, where you can share your screen, I guess, or?
No, I don't. I provided all the information on, I mean, I can tell you that I went in level budgeted on all lines, which would actually be a bit of a decrease as far as the cost of things on supplies, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. And there's a 1% stipend that I've never taken advantage of in my wage area, which I believe I should be entitled to given my degrees. And then, yep, if there, we can talk about beaver remediation or the research that I've done on new revenues for the town. Because I know new revenues are necessary. The last time that the Board of Health schedule of fees was reviewed was on 7/7/21. So I took the time to research all surrounding towns and even towns outside of the area. So
So this
the
is
only
for a
area-
new revenue? Sorry, Bob. So
Excuse me? Yes.
this is for a new revenue idea?
New revenue idea.
Okay, but so let's start with the budget, I guess, itself, I guess. So Sandy, that's posted out on the SharePoint, right?
It'd be on the OneDrive.
Yes, on the one.
I can't manage to do both things.
It's under Board of Health, Todd, BOH.
Yeah, I think I got it here. I'm just trying to see if I can. Who's the host of the? Is Caesar there? Or? They can't share the screen, I guess. Well, it's disabled. But I guess that's fine. Are you guys all able to access the budget in the drive there? Anybody having problems with pulling that up, or
I can't pull it up.
can't get in, Cheryl?
No, I'm in. I don't know if I can pull it up, though. I'm not good with all this.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it looks like it's right in the folder there. So if you go into,
okay.
you know how to get into the OneDrive, right? Or
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I can get into that. Just means I have to make the screen smaller and just because I can't see both of you here.
oh, okay.
You
You
know?
don't have to look at us, Cheryl, just look at the budget.
Okay, come on here.
Maybe if we have Bob lead out with the Beaver budget there, Beaver Bob there. Take a look at that, and maybe explain a little bit about that to everybody like you and I had discussed that day. What's going on with the
Yes.
beaver population in Halifax.
Well, I certainly wouldn't recommend something that I don't think would be necessary for the future. Meaning, we're sitting here tonight evaluating a budget, which means in the event that I have to order the town to do beaver remediation, they'll have to come up with the money, or we will have to come up with the money. Much like owning my own home, that's how I treat my budget. Therefore, I said, we need to tuck away a few dollars to have the funds in place in the event of emergency. We have now seen emergencies given the pandemic, which we were very fortunate that we got state and local fundings for, but for us to be able to fund it, the responsibility of beaver remediation falls upon Board of Health. Plain and simple. So it's either the homeowner, an outside commercial property, or the town that's going to foot a cost of currently for a 10-day beaver trapping permit is $4,000. So I've asked for $5,000 to be put either in the Board of Health fund selectmen's fund. Maybe there's a different fund. I'm not the finance person, I'm the health person. And I can tell you right off the bat that trapping or hunting of beavers is on a decrease because there's really no value to it. Not a lot of meat to eat, like a deer. And the population is exploding, for lack of a better word. So we have increased populations. We've seen what kind of damage they can do. As I did cite in the town of Halifax, memo when I suggested this, Furnace Brook, Stump Pond, there's some down on Wood Street, there's others over on Monpont. It just seems to be my attempt to say no, plan and prepare for the future. And not really, and it would roll over every year. If we don't get to use it, then great. It's
Okay.
at least in a fund.
It would roll over every year if we put it in an article. If it's
Yeah.
added to your budget, it would not roll over every year. But if we put it in an article, Bob, if you propose it as an article to town meeting, then that money would stay in that article until it's used. And we could put
Well-
money in this year and then more money in next year.
So at that, if it goes into an article, will the money be there? And meaning if it doesn't go in the article, there's no skin off my back. It's a matter of if the town doesn't want to accept it. Once we have a beaver remediation problem, the money's going to have to come
We have to pay it
from
anyways.
somewhere, somehow, at some
Right.
point. That's that was my whole point in bringing it forward.
But with that being said, Bob, would it be better to do it this way than bring it to town meeting?
Well,
It
it
would-
would still have to go to town meeting either way,
Okay,
Right.
if it was in an
And-
article or if it was in your budget.
okay.
So I guess that's why I'm here tonight, is to have you guys say, which way do you want me to do it? And I'll do it either way. But I think it's necessary for the eventual improvements of how the town totally operates. Or fundings for operations of unpredictable weather events, unpredictable beaver populations, just to let the town know that there's things that are out there that if you don't have the funding in place, it's going to come from the town budget.
Yeah, no, understood, I guess. And so have we seen an increase, I guess, in the population and the neighboring towns, I guess, as well?
East Bridgewater's going through an extreme amount of beavers right now. Abington, their town logo is actually beavers, but they were totally eradicated, and now they're experiencing it. The Southeast is on a rebound.
Now, this is just for the town properties, not for commercial or private property. They're responsible for their own remediation of the beavers. Is that correct, Bob?
You are absolutely right, Frank. The three that have recently been done within Halifax are commercial and or cranberry bog owners that were responsible. Again, if it's the town's responsibility, it would be where streams are on town properties, which in my mind, or I believe a part of Wood Street could be that there's different areas. I'd have to look at the whole stream system to perfectly identify each area, but it's only town property that we're talking about.
Todd, do you mind if I ask a question?
or town-owned land. Like, Burridge Park happens to be town-owned land. However, it was, or it is regulated by the Division of Fisheries. So they were able to do the remediation for us. So, there's a little bit of overlap on that, but meaning, yes, town land, Burridge Park, the town owns, but Division of Fisheries happens to be there right now, and we sort of lucked out on that one. And that's what got this thought process turning in my mind was, okay, well, I have well water, and I always leave an extra few $1,000 in the bank just in case I ever have to replace my well pump head. And I said, well, the town needs to be able to at least think, plan, and prepare for that. So I'll take it however you guys want me to take it. You're the finance people. I'm the health guy. So I'm, throwing it out there just for you to have it in the back, the back of your minds.
Yeah, no, thank you for, Cody, did you have a question?
Yeah, Bob, thanks, Todd. Bob, do you see this as more of an annual thing moving forward? Do you see it as kind of a one-time thing in the future? Or do you see this as kind of our new normal?
Well, all three.
Okay,
To
that's
honestly
fine.
answer your question, I'd have to say right now, I would not put it into imminent. Tomorrow, well, or 6 weeks from now, that's what happened with COVID. We started off with a few people coughing, this, that, and then before you knew it, things were closing. I'm not, making the two the same. Obviously, infectious disease is different than the beavers. However, I can't anticipate a decrease. I can only anticipate an increase, especially given bigger populations in the area in which Halifax is. Meaning there's a lot of streams and swampland, which is totally up the beaver's alley to live in.
All
So
right,
if the
thank you, Bob.
populations don't go down, they should expand.
Yeah, so I guess like how have we handled those in the past, like extraordinary expenses, I guess, that have popped out outside of the budget, Cindy? We just pull those from free cash, I would imagine, I guess, or?
So usually if there's an extraordinary event, unexpected and extraordinary, they would come in front of the finance committee and request a reserve fund transfer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So is there any reason, I guess, that we wouldn't want to continue that here, I guess, or what's the benefit of doing the article over just managing it? Seems like it's, $5,000 is relatively small. If it was much larger, then obviously I would think an article would make a lot more sense, but given the.
I don't see it ever like, being a capital fund sort of, budget request, But I do, I just wanted to let you know, it's more a heads up. I've met some of you in person, haven't met everybody. Just want to be open and honest with.
Oh, yeah, no,
goes
absolutely,
on.
yeah. No, definitely appreciate you bringing it up to us. I think from here, it's just a matter of making a determination of what makes the most sense logistically to be able to support the additive cost, if and when it comes, so.
I think where, Bob's saying he doesn't anticipate it going away. It is only $5,000. It may be wise to add it in the operating budget. Just because, as you all know, it's once you add it in, that's really the hard hit is adding it in. At least it's
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And then in the future, I mean, if it doesn't get used, it goes to free cash, but at least it's there. So if we run into a circumstance where we need to use it, we can go ahead and just go use it, especially where Bob, seems to think that it's going to be an issue, but that's just my recommendation.
Yeah, makes sense, yeah.
I would go with that too.
Yeah, and then I'm just looking through the budget real quick too, Bob, so everything else was flat, I guess, right? I did see there is an increase in the engineering and monitoring item. Oh, is that
Yes,
the contract for a new contract came into play?
exactly.
Okay,
We haven't had the contract renewed. It was time to renew it, and even researching that, it's like, wow, they didn't jump a lot. So, and they'll do the same services that we've always had. That's the landfill, by the way, that's right by the highway department building, not Maryland's Landing. That's the,
Yeah, and Bob, your numbers of 19,534 is for 1 year of a 3-year contract, and that rate of 19,534 would appear in the next 2 fiscal years. And there'd be no increase in that, is that correct?
yes.
And that takes care of our monthly, quarterlies, semi-quarterlies, and annual reporting requirements as we discussed.
Yes.
okay. Yeah, no, it sounds good. Yeah, everything else looks like it's flat across. So I guess somebody want to make a motion, I guess, or any further discussion, I guess, on Bob's budgets, everybody.
Um,
I don't think we have to make
I-
a motion, do we?
Bob, you had, I think you and I touched on this, but I don't see it in my notes from our meeting regarding an assistant inspector. Do you have money in your budgets for an assistant, or you have some money for an animal inspector, the nursing services?
And I have a consulting line that does some of my restaurant inspections.
Oh, in the, I see where. So, yeah, because you have that in there as just a line item, the 78,
Yeah.
73. Do you have the breakdown, I guess, of what?
Currently, that's only used for restaurants, of which anything that hasn't been used, which hasn't always been used, gets, I don't know, Sandy, it's either called turn around or thrown back in and comes up new again every year. So,
Right. Anything not
Yeah.
used in your budget goes back into the general fund at the end of the
it goes
year.
back into general fund,
Right.
and there's fortunately, I am also managing the Public Health Excellence Grant, which is monies that have been sent to us from the state that allows us to go beyond regulatory requirements, as long as you do not supplant a fund. Meaning, if I was to get rid of either the food inspection consultant or my nursing, I could not use the state funding towards that. If I want to do extra restaurant inspections, increase nursing wellness clinics, and then that's all great. So there's a third part of the budget process that, we're lucky right now that the state has realized the need and the importance of public health initiatives, not only to maintain minimum standards, but to try to go above and beyond and I'll use the words again, no plan or prepare for things that are happening in the future. Beaver funding won't come into this one. However, I'm in a really, really good position to push Halifax, the three Bridgewaters, Middleborough, and Taunton forward, as long as at budget meetings, they don't lose whatever funding they currently have, thinking, okay, well, Yarra got done. And in the other towns, it hasn't. So I just, again, trying to be open and transparent, thought I'd let you know on that consulting line. If we want to play with it, I got to make sure that it will fit into what we've agreed to from the state, so that I won't be in any violation of a state contractual issue of, well, now you're doing your inspections through us instead of them, or instead of yourself. Was it a supplanting of fund money? Interesting, huh? I just thought I'd tell you, because I walked the line, and again, thank God for Sandy, because, I don't go on ice that's not at least 4 inches thick.
So Bob, under the restaurant consulting line item, the 1,500s, that's mostly just the restaurants that we're using that for, and other food establishments as well. The stores,
That's all.
that's all, like Cumbies, lunch counter and things like that.
Yes,
Okay,
yes. And I could have called and used them to do, like if I have to do another pre-open inspection at the Happy Dragon because of their, the water main burst, that would be
Yeah.
something I could easily pull out of that fund, so that we have two sets of eyes on the situation and make sure that I open up the safest restaurant possible. Health eyes. And fortunately, I already have fire and building department who work hand in hand with me.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Bob. Anything else? Any other questions for Bob?
I'm just, I'll just tell you, if we do the new revenue thing, and that might be for a different night, there's not a lot of money in what we have to gain extra revenues, maybe like 700, 800 bucks. But if the housing project goes in, I could move much higher on housing inspections, and at least that will help bring in some extra town revenues, because a lot of those units will need my inspectional services.
Okay, yeah, one of the things we've asked to kind of go to the department heads was to take a look at the current, fees that we're charging for the various services across the town, and then do a comparison to, local towns to see where we might be, lower than others, and kind of do an assessment there as far as like, what should potentially be raised or things of that nature. So that's something we definitely want to take a look at once we have that data collected.
I have the info. I'll forward it out to all of you.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fantastic. And then I did see you have in there the note for the stipend, I guess, so that will be handled separately through the Wage and Personnel Committee that we have set up. So that'll be decided through that, and if approved, then certainly with budget.
Hey, I appreciate meeting all of you, and if you have any further questions, please hit me.
Okay. All right, yeah, thank you, Bob. Appreciate the time.
Steve,
Thanks, Bob.
thanks for being on the call.
All right, thank you.
All right, so then moving on the agenda, the next item was the New Avenues new revenue suggestions. So I did take a peek out in the folder there. There isn't anything new submitted at this time. So the two that were in flight were, the one that we just mentioned, which was in regards to taking a look at our fees, performing an assessment there. The second item was in relation to the taking a look at the special education transportation. Jim, myself, and Jonathan Seelig have been kind of working on that a bit, on trying to gather some information. I did see the budget details were sent over this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to take a look through it yet, but it looks like they provide some detail regarding the needs of the students. So that would be a great start of just understanding that. So I can share that with you all. We take a look through that, and then we can eventually start to brainstorm on possible solutions or alternatives to mitigate some of that cost if possible, right? So those are the two. Those are the two in flight, anyways, at this point in time. So aside from that, I guess the next item was the as may arise. If anybody has anything else they want to bring up for today's meeting?
We're just going to meet Wednesday night for the wage and personnel at 7 up in the Great Hall, correct?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know Cheryl, you won't be there, right?
I
Mentioned.
will not, no.
Okay. Everybody else planning on being there at this time, anyways?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Anything else from anyone on the committee? No. Okay. Any public participation from anybody? I see a number of folks on. Anyone have anything else they want to raise before we drop?
Do you have any idea who you want on the agenda next meeting? Does anyone have suggestions for what departments you'd like to ask to come in?
I've got one more meeting with Jean at the library, and I think she'll be ready to go in front of the committee to present her budget for the library. I've not heard back from the school as of yet. I know they were waiting for them to do kind of a second pass on the budget they submitted already. So I think as soon as that happens, we can get a little more serious about what's in the paperwork there.
And are you planning on meeting with her this week, I guess, Jim? Or?
Her Jean?
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow, probably tomorrow, like around 5-ish or so.
Okay.
I was supposed to meet with her today. I just got hung up doing some other things for work. So I
no worries. Yeah. I'm just thinking, so should we pencil her in for Monday? I guess maybe you want to touch base with her when you meet with her and just see if she's comfortable with that, I guess.
Yeah. And we can
Okay.
confirm it with her Wednesday night because I believe she'll be at the wage.
Oh, okay.
Wednesday
Yeah,
night.
perfect. Yeah, perfect. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I have met with all 4 of mine, but I'm sure we may want to talk with police and fire. But I won't be at next meeting, so probably the last meeting of the month,
Meeting after that,
27th, we could invite them.
Yeah, what is that, the 27th, I guess?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, let's pencil them in for the 27th then, yeah.
Todd, I have a meeting with Steve Littlefield over in Veterans on Thursday at 4, and I'll ask him then if he's available.
Yeah, I mean, some of those smaller ones, we probably don't necessarily need them to come in unless there's something material to talk about. Like today was perfect with Bob with the whole beaver issue there. Like I wasn't aware of that. I don't know if anyone else was. So like stuff like that, I think is great to bring up. But unless there's if there's nothing material, then I think we no need to them in. We can just, especially if it's flat, right? Like nothing's changed, so there's nothing really to talk about, I guess. So
It may be beneficial to, on an upcoming agenda, have a meeting or a discussion point, focused generally on kind of revenues and expenses, just so you have an idea, as you approve these budgets, you have a better idea of kind of the whole financial picture of the town. So, when you make your decisions, you can say, yes, we're either going to approve this because we can afford it, or, justify the decisions that you're making.
yeah.
makes
And I
sense.
think that's what we did last year too, Sandy, right? With that spreadsheet we had going with the total amount, and then you had the line items. for each of the
Right.
budget. Yeah,
Right. So Cody and I had sat down and done a projection, which we talked with the selectmen about. Would you want to, Cody, would you want to meet with them and talk that through with the finance committee as well? Would
Yeah,
you
we
like to do
could, yes, we could do that. We'll take out our collective bargaining assumptions because we can't make that public record, but we can kind of go through the general revenues and the general expenses that we predict.
Mhm.
It kind of gives you a good idea. You know, you'll see, you know, this year, next year, our financial picture is pretty good, but projecting out beyond that, we have some things we need to seriously look at.
yeah. So we want to do that as a joint meeting, you're saying, Cindy, with the selectmen?
No, just have Cody present it to you.
Oh, okay, gotcha, yeah.
Put Cody on as for some time for that discussion.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, when should we do that, I guess, then, but maybe we want to do that on the 27th, I guess?
Well, what about next meeting? Right now, we have the library coming
Okay.
in.
Yeah, I was just thinking because Cheryl and Michael are both going to be absent though next week. I
Oh,
kind of would
that's
like them
true.
to be part of it. You know,
Okay,
that's the only
So the
downside. I know we have
27th?
the holiday, so you know, pushes it out a couple weeks, which is not ideal, but might be best to get a, you know, full attendance.
Mhm.
okay.
That's fine.
But that will be a pretty packed agenda, I guess, if we do that and then do the police and fire as well. But maybe that's what we shoot for then, is just really those three items, I guess, for the
Mhm.
27th. Yeah.
Mhm.
Does that sound good for everybody? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Gonna make a note here. Okay, and then, so I'll send you the couple of those agenda points for next week, Sandy as well, and then if we can,
Okay,
I guess, line Jean up, and I guess we'll talk to her, I guess, Wednesday too, just to confirm that she's okay with that. Anybody else, though, any other budgets, I guess we want to try to squeeze in for next week, like any smaller ones that are worthwhile to us that we should maybe try to squeeze in next week?
Could reach back out to the building inspector and see if we can get him in
Yeah,
here.
yeah, exactly.
I'll talk to him again. Who's liaison? Who is his
I am
liaison?
Sandy.
All right, so maybe you want to reach out to him.
Yeah, I'll shoot him a
right.
note in the morning or yeah, I'll just drop him a note or give him a call
All right, very good.
and see if he's available for next meeting Tuesday, and then that way we get it on the agenda beforehand.
Very good.
Okay, yeah, just let us know, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you an email, Todd, you and Sandy on that.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could definitely get him in next week, just because we're gonna, you know, have the 20th off, and then the 27th sounds like it's gonna be pretty jam-packed already.
Yeah, and he's got some numbers that are up over his previous budgets.
Okay. All right, and then, John, on your budgets, I guess, have you had a chance to meet with the folks yet, I guess? The department heads on those, any thoughts?
No, I'm setting up some meetings this week, so I'll get back to you. So maybe when we get
Okay.
back, if there's anything that we need to bring anyone on for, I'll let you know. I'm not sure if there will be or not, but
Okay, all right, yeah, sounds. All right. All right, I think that's it then, unless anybody has anything else. Not, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote, John,
yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. I guess we'll touch base on